track headed to the east coast of the United States. And take a look at this track right here. As we take you to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, a Category 2 hurricane, still a Category 2, but by about 8 p.m. tomorrow night, that's a Category 3 hurricane. Continues that way as it tracks towards the Bahama Islands. Very warm water here. Water temperature is 85 degrees or beyond that. Category 3, that's Saturday morning at 8 a.m. winds at about 125 miles per hour, tracking towards the Bahama Islands. The bad thing about this now, National Hurricane Center is indicating this could become a Category 4 hurricane, a major hurricane. This is Sunday morning, 8 a.m., east coast of Florida. There's Miami right there. There's Cape Canaveral. Winds sustained at about 130 miles an hour. That's 8 a.m. Sunday morning as it tracks towards the east coast and becomes a Category 4 as it makes landfall somewhere between Fort Lauderdale and Jacksonville, maybe over towards areas around Melbourne, Florida. There's still a lot of variance in the potential impact area, but unfortunately for Florida, this is going to cause a lot of major problems. That's Monday morning, 8 a.m., 130 mile an hour winds right before landfall. Comes across land, does lose some intensity as a Category 1 hurricane. That's Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., pretty close to Tampa, Florida. But notice that cone of uncertainty. That's why we take a look at the bigger area. It could be anywhere from maybe around Miami all the way up to Jacksonville or possibly right around Hilton Head there in South Carolina, maybe up towards Savannah, Georgia at that time. Once again, this is Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., right on top of Tampa, enters in to the Gulf of Mexico, where the water temperature is about 85 to 90 degrees. When you get to a Category 3 hurricane, that is devastating damage. Cat 3, that's winds 111 to about 129 miles per hour. Category 4, unfortunately, that makes landfall. Dorian makes landfall. It's a Category 4. That is catastrophic damage. And that means destruction of houses, buildings. It means tremendous flooding. And unfortunately, it gets to Category 5. That is beyond catastrophic. Category 4, there you go, winds 130 to about 156 mile per hour winds. Looking at some of the computer models and the different areas that this could make impact, once Dorian enters into the Gulf of Mexico, we're talking about water temperatures, once again, about 85 to 90 degrees. Three paths. The good news for our area would be the farther west we are of Dorian, the better off we are. You can see if it takes that track and moves up towards Georgia, maybe towards Atlanta, heads towards Charlotte, that's the worst case scenario. Then we get into the center point there. That's the better news. The farther east it goes, or farther west we are from the storm, the better off we are. That heads towards the Carolina coastline. Not a good thing for the coastal communities, but for us, it does mean less of an impact. It does mean we'd still get some very heavy rain and some gusty winds. These are some of the computer models. We call this the spaghetti plot, and you can see a lot of those are indicating a turn out of the Gulf of Mexico and headed across central Florida, maybe into South Georgia, and could it head towards Charlotte? Well, you can see some of the models, at least one of those are right here, but a lot of those are indicating more of a turn towards the east coast of Georgia, South Carolina, eventually up to North Carolina. That's something we'll keep an eye on. Latest radar shot does show a move away from Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but there's still a lot of heavy rain and thunderstorm activity across the Virgin Islands where they had a lot of catastrophic, not catastrophic damage, but a lot of major damage there across the Virgin Islands. Once again, winds sustained at 85. We got some gusts up to about 105 miles per hour, moving northwest at about 13. So here we go. You can see the position right now, the Bahamas here, and all that water, 85 degrees or more. That would not be a good situation. For hurricanes to really form and intensify, the water has to be 80 degrees from the surface to about 100 feet down. 85-degree temperatures, that really fuels up the atmosphere. You take this warm ocean water that just fuels the atmosphere up, and that's why we could see the potential for a Category 4 hurricane as it tracks off and moves towards the east coast of Florida. Once again, some of the computer models with areas of high pressure, that's at Bermuda High, and that's really going to help push this across Florida and then eventually make it tracking towards probably the east coast of Georgia, South Carolina, eventually to North Carolina. That would be sometime late next week. So I think our main situation here in the Charlotte area would be late next week. Florida, obviously, this weekend and the early part of next week. Here we go with some of the rainfall totals. Devastating rainfall totals across parts of Florida. You can see anywhere from, say, around Melbourne all the way to Tampa, anywhere possibly from up to 10 to 15 inches of rain. That would be the worst case scenario for the folks there. Here it is once again. This is what we're looking at as we get towards the weekend at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. Category 4 hurricane. That's right over the Palm Islands. There's Marsh Harbor right there. Still a Category 4, and that could be right before landfall somewhere between Fort Lauderdale and Jacksonville if you follow that center course. But we have to always look at that cone of uncertainty. It's a large area. This is a pretty large cone. This covers about 450 miles of territory, so it could be anywhere from up around maybe around Savannah, Georgia, all the way down towards areas south of Miami. That's in a couple of computer models. Actually, have it tracking across Miami, Florida before it gets in the Gulf of Mexico. This is something we'll keep an eye on, and we'll keep you updated about this. But the unfortunate situation is what's going to happen across Florida anywhere from, say, Monday all the way to Tuesday. That means high winds. That means really potential for catastrophic winds. It means anywhere from 10 up to 20 inches of rain. So you have devastating rain. The storm surge could cause major problems. You could have 10 to 15 foot storm surge with the storm system. So that is the very latest. Once again, winds sustained right now at 85 miles per hour. But by, as you can see, Sunday morning at 8 a.m., those winds could be up to 135 mile per hour sustained winds as a Category 4 hurricane. We'll keep you updated, and the very next report right here comes up this afternoon at 2 o'clock.